Another hand, please, for Dmitri Tymoczko, the Kings County Brass Band, and Blair McMillan on piano. Dmitri, you're a great composer, but that is not an easy piece.
No, my big problem as a composer is my music is always too hard. But I think I've made a breakthrough recently, and I think I've convinced myself to become interested in simpler music.
Okay, less complexity.
I'm optimistic. I think if I play my own music, that will help.
How did this come around? Oh, I see, yes. I'm part of a group called Composers Concordance, and they have a composers play their own music concert for that exact reason.
Yeah.
You say, oh, you write differently when you know you have to play it yourself, which is...
I sometimes have nightmares that I have to play a Mozart concerto in public.
Your piece is called Rube Goldberg Variations, but Rube Goldberg wasn't the only person who inspired it. Talk about the inspiration for the piece a little bit.
Well, it's really funny. I thought of this silly name that combines Rube Goldberg with the Goldberg Variations, this very famous piece of classical music, and I didn't write the piece, and my hard drive crashed. And the tech guy who fixed my hard drive said, oh, while I was checking your files, I saw that you're a composer and you have this great idea for a piece, Rube Goldberg Variations. I want to hear that piece. And so that convinced me, I actually have to write this piece. And that's how it happened.
All right, that's fantastic. And how does it relate to Rube?
Well, obviously, I mean, one of the things about the brass band is it's synonymous with a kind of oompa, sort of outdoor music. And I got asked to write a piece for a brass band, and I didn't want it to sound like that. And I thought, what would make the brass band sound least like a brass band? How about if they're playing with this monstrous piano that's been deformed by, and just the sound was so improbable that I thought that would cure my oompa tendencies, so that when the brass band finally starts doing that sort of thing, it feels like sort of this welcome change.
Yeah, right. Well, thank you. It's a great piece. I appreciate it very much. Another hand, please, for Dmitri.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And let's bring up Jennifer and Michael one more time. Just chat a little bit here while we set up for the penultimate piece. I love to say that word, penultimate. Although I always think it means the last one, but it doesn't. So, Michael, what are your thoughts on the evening so far?
I'm just amazed at how the creativity has really run through dance and music and has just inspired a whole new genre of using Rube in different ways. It's really kind of, it's incredible. Congratulations.
Yeah, and Jennifer, how about you?
Again, I'm a little bit in awe. I mean, prepared piano, it's such a unique thing to actually be a master of, because you're essentially using everyday objects to affect a musical piece or, towards an end, a specific end. And Rube's work, his machines, were all made out of everyday objects. So there's this kind of through line through it all, which I kind of love seeing live.
Yeah, that's right. I hadn't thought about that before. You're right. The machines are all everyday objects.
Yeah.
That was the whole point.
They're not just marble runs. They're not just domino runs. A fan, a boot, a parrot, a bowling ball. They all are part of the machine.
So is a domino run technically a Rube Goldberg machine?
No,
or?
it's a domino run.
Ah, all right. That's a different thing. All right, see, you learned something. This is why I do this podcast. So that
And a marble run's a marble run.
All right. Because, if you search Rube Goldberg machine in YouTube, as you probably know, you come up with a lot of
domino runs.
A lot of these things, right, exactly. And I stayed away from them. One of the people I find so fascinating is Joseph Herscher.
He's brilliant.
Put up a couple of his machines.
Well, and it's a shame because he was living in Brooklyn up until recently. Now he's living in England.
I know, I wrote him. I had this idea that we would do one of his machines live and write music for it and just this whole elaborate thing.
He's a genius. I say that, he is the heir apparent. Mm-hmm. And it's very obvious.
Yeah, I would check him out. Joseph's Machines. He builds these amazing, wonderful machines, Rube Goldberg machines.
And more delightful person you couldn't meet, so.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
So my piece is called, the next piece is mine. It's called Useless Machines for Thinking, Dreaming, Feeling, which is a little bit different take on the useless machine. Because in the Rube Goldberg machine, it's a useless machine only because it takes so many steps to finally do something. But in the end, that is useful. I mean, in Joseph's machines, it'll feed him cake, or it will,
Well,
do
it has
something.
a simple purpose.
Right, exactly, but it takes many, many steps to get through it. But when I was thinking about useless machine, there's a whole other subset. I went to a exhibit at the Bronx Museum on useless machines, and they were talking about inutility, machines that you create to replicate parts of humanity that don't actually do anything useful, like take a nap, dream, lay around. And I'm just curious, I mean, because that's not technically a Rube Goldberg machine, but what would both of your thoughts be on that idea, that aspect of it, more a philosophical idea of uselessness?
Oh, Michael, I'm going to hand that one over to you.
Usefulness. I think it's in the eye of the creator in that sense, right? So I'm not sure, actually.
Well, I mean,
I love asking questions like this and just seeing what happens.
There's no answer, but I was listening to this interview, and we're going to play a tiny clip of it, and then after your piece.
Possibly.
Possibly, we get
This
to
is a tech-heavy show. let me go
it.
see if I have it loaded up.
Anyway, in listening to it, Rube was he was very sanguine towards the end of his life. He was amazed that out of all the work he'd done, the political cartoons, the Pulitzer Prize, that he was going to be known for this thing, which is like, what is that? And if we don't get to the quote, he said, "They're really not machines. They're really satirical representations of progressive nothing." And it's amazing to me that was my grandfather, and that we are all, and after I heard it, I listened to it over and over again. I heard it on a plane. It was accidentally came up on my iPod that I was listening to going cross country, and I listened to it over and over, and I thought, my God, there must be some cultural thread in sort of Jewish humor. If Seinfeld's about nothing, we're about progressive nothing. And then it all clicked for me. So there we are. I don't know if that answered your question, but it was a digression.
Well, I mean, I was hoping.
It was
I
a
love
Rube
that
Goldberg
quote.
digression.
I love that quote, 100%. Okay, so we'll hear my piece. This is Unheard of Ensemble, and the idea here is that they are one machine, but each of them are separate parts of the machine, and so they actually have separate musical parts in different time signatures and different tempos, but it's meant to cohese, so hopefully you feel that it does. It's in 3 movements, and we'll see progressive shadow puppetry from Little Shadow Puppets as well. So let's welcome Unheard of Ensemble and Little Shadow Puppets to the stage. All right.